Good to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me, man. Pleasure.
It's good. 8 years between albums.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is a long time. Yeah.
What's been going on? Has life got in the way? Have other projects got in the way? Family? I won't say family getting in the way. I'll say family
Taking
family coming
priority.
first.
No, it's kind of it's kind of a product of the way the band writes. I've talked about this morning quite a bit with some other
Slowly.
people. Yeah, it's very kind of old school. Bands these days generally tend to record like demos on a computer with programmed drums, and
Yeah.
everything's done in a computer, and everybody learns the song or arranges the song inside a computer,
Mm.
which is cool because you can do that while you're on tour. You can do that from anywhere in the world. Whereas Bill and Jeff are very old school, and it's the only way they write is in a room with the three of us,
Yeah.
jamming stuff out and kind of jigsawing it together in the room. And it's amazing because I think it brings out something that's a little bit more organic and a bit
Oh
more
yeah.
natural,
Yeah.
but it takes so much more time because you have to actually physically get in a room together. And some days you create gold, and then the other days nothing comes out. So it's kind of so
And getting together in the same room is a bit harder these days.
absolutely, yeah.
In the last
Yeah,
couple
these
of
days,
years.
yeah, absolutely.
So you can use that as an excuse for like a year and a half, but the other 5.5. Anyway.
Well, unfortunately, we'd recorded the album before any of this started, so we
Yeah,
haven't got
right.
that excuse. We haven't got that excuse either.
You've got an album title that I would expect to hear from Carcass, but you haven't got an album cover that I was expecting from Carcass. Something very, very different to what I was expecting. So tell us about that. It's
Yeah, it's unique for sure, isn't it? Yeah, it's this is Jeff's domain is visuals and artwork. He's been in charge of, as far as I'm aware, every piece of artwork since the band began. I mean, he came up with the logo and everything. So, yeah, it was an idea he had that he kind of it was a mixture between there's a Japanese form of art that kind of depicts rot and decay and stuff, and there's also this other type of art, I don't know where it's from, where it's like sculptures. They make body parts out of fruits and vegetables, and he kind of told us this idea of mixing the two things, and me and Bill were a bit like, okay, let's see how that works out.
It works. I really like it.
Well, yeah, and he sent the idea to this guy in Poland who'd been wanting to work with the band for a while, and we didn't hear anything for ages. And then he sent back these images, and all of us were a bit like, "Wow, that was more impressive than we were expecting."
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And yeah, it's been quite polarizing. I guess for obvious reason, it's not the most typical album cover that you'd expect from a metal band, but I think that was Jeff's idea, was to do something a bit different, do something a bit striking, do something that's not you don't see every day. So I love it. I mean, it took me a minute, but I love it. Now I love it.
It took me a minute too. Yes, you do not see that every day. So let's run through some of the stuff on the album. I've only had the chance to listen to it once because I came across this very late in the game. So I only heard this once. So
no worries.
Tell us about it.
Well, I mean, in comparison to, if we compare it, I guess the easiest thing to compare it to would be Surgical Steel, the last one we did. I'd say not that Surgical Steel all sounds the same, but there's definitely a more common vibe throughout that album. I think this one definitely has a lot more kind of ups and downs. There's basically stuff that you'd find on all the other albums of Carcass kind of all put together. There's groovier stuff. There's faster blasty stuff. There's stuff in the middle. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the band's never done before. So it's kind of a little bit all over the place. There's not really one sound that it kind of follows, but I think it kind of sums up everything the band is capable of doing in a few ways. I think that's a good way of describing it. I mean, does that sound right from what you've heard?
That sounds fine. Yep, I'm happy with that.
That's good.
Now all produced, like you had said, like in the one room jamming, eye contact, cranked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
How long did it take to put together? Once
That's a
you
good
got
question.
together like that, was it done? Get the guys together and then sort of thrashed out, or was it bit here, bit there?
Yeah, it was, and again, that was another reason it took so long, is because we basically just didn't stop touring, because touring is where all musicians make their money now. So to be able to keep making money, we had to kind of keep touring, and also we love touring. Touring is kind of the main reason we keep doing it. I think we all love it so much.
Yeah.
So we basically we would do it in chunks. So we'd do a few days here, and then we'd have to go away again for to tour for a couple of weeks, and then we'd come home, and then we'd do a little bit more, and then we'd be away for a month, and then we'd come home. So it was all very kind of split up and little chunks here and there, and again, that's what made it take so long, because I think because we kept going away from it, we'd come back and then we'd be like, it's not as good as I remember. We can make it better. So it was almost a bad thing that we kept going away and coming back, because we kept coming with fresh ears and being like, nah, that sucks. Let's do it again. So and also we didn't have a time limit, which, we're lucky that the label didn't say, oh, you have to have an album by this date, which, which is sometimes the case. So we had absolutely no limit. So that also made it take longer, because we were like, oh well, we haven't got a time limit, so we can keep rewriting it and rewriting it and rewriting it, and so exactly.
Keep hitting the snooze button on the album.
Exactly.
Stay in bed,
and then we kind of got to a point where we were just like, this is a bit ridiculous now. We basically we booked studio time, and we said it has to be ready by this time, otherwise it's never going to be ready. So that was kind of the best thing we did for it, was actually we just booked the studio. It wasn't finished, but we were like, right, we'll book the studio for, I think it was we had 6 months or something, and then we were like, right, if it's not done in 6 months, it's never going to be done. So we have to get it done. So
that's the musical equivalent. That's the musical equivalent of buying a suit that is too small for your wedding. So
there you go. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Okay, back to touring. Back when you could tour. Remember those times? Way back there.
It feels like I've never toured before now. I've been away for so long.
You're a virgin when you start again, going in fresh.
Exactly.
What's some of the best stories you can think of about touring? Funny story on the bus, funny tour story.
Oh God.
Prank on really stage, tough. Maybe. What can you tell me? Someone get locked up. I've heard some. I've heard some pretty wild stories. So.
We've never had any of that. One of the first ones that comes to mind is when we got banned from playing in Malaysia and Indonesia.
Yeah.
We got banned from there whilst we were in the country. And it was all because of, I won't go into the details because I don't want to bring it up again, but it's because Jeff essentially made a joke about the what's the word?
Be very careful here.
Yeah, he made a joke about the government in each of those countries.
Right, yeah.
On Facebook. Whilst we were in those countries. And with the power of the internet these days, those Facebook posts somehow got into the hands of the national media in those countries.
I can't imagine how.
Yeah, I know, right? And all of a sudden we were told, yeah, you're banned. You basically need to leave as soon as possible, and you're not welcome back. And we were getting all kinds of death threats and stuff. It was crazy.
Right.
Yeah. So that was quite a scary one, because we hadn't played the show yet in Indonesia. We were absolutely terrified that something. But luckily, it was actually all right. But and then we had to just leave the minute after the show. But that's the first one that comes to mind. It wasn't necessarily that funny, but it was pretty mental.
Certainly memorable.
I don't know if we'll be going back to Malaysia or Indonesia anytime soon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because it's such a great place to play. But it just shows you the power of social media, doesn't it? That it was.
You've got to be. Real
and it wasn't.
careful.
I didn't consider it to be. None of us considered it to be offensive. But
no,
you understand. Cultures are very different across the world.
Oh, hell yeah.
What you don't deem to be offensive could be very offensive to someone else, and it's a bit like, oh yeah, that's a bit of a lesson there. Maybe don't make jokes straight away. Think about it before you check. So anyway, yeah. So that was kind of crazy. That experience. So we'll see what happens in there if we ever go back, if we're ever allowed back. So.
Keywords, if you are ever allowed back.
Exact. If is the big one, yeah.
Not you. This album coming out on September 17. A little bit of time yet. How pumped are you? How's it been going? How's the vibe, man?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it seems pretty good. I mean, we've released, what have we released? 2 songs now, and they were the polar opposites of each other. The first one we released was like a fast, thrashy one. The second one we released was super slow, groovy one, and I think that was intentional to kind of test the water, because to show you, there's not just this stuff on the album, there's also this stuff. So, and it seems that both have been met with pretty positive reactions. So, I mean, there's obviously some people that don't like either of them, and that's the case. That's just music, you can't please everybody. But I think we're excited to show people, the whole thing, because even though we released 2 songs that are on different sides of the spectrum, there's still so much more in between those 2 types of song that are on the album. I think, but it's just it's weird because we've had it for so long, it just doesn't seem that new anymore. It kind of feels like we're already talking about like new music. What could be the next step? Because it feels like our old album already, but it's. Yeah, so it's kind of weird, but it's also incredibly exciting that people will finally hear what we spent so long trying to put together.
Just don't second guess yourself and go in and re-record it before before releasing it again.
Actually, no, we're going to scrap it all and do it again.
Good luck with that. Anything about the album, the recording of it, the release, what comes next that you want to run through? Are things opening up for touring? What's the deal?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting one, because in theory we're meant to be touring with Arch Enemy and Behemoth in a couple of months round Europe, but as it stands, every single band is still kind of like, ooh, I don't know if it's gonna. And I think it's looking less and less likely, but no one's made the decision yet, and it's kind of. It's in the UK, we're doing really well. We've had festivals, we've had indoor shows, and I mean, I don't want to speak too soon because it changes weekly, it changes daily, I guess, doesn't it? So it seems to be going all right. But the problem is in mainland Europe, there are so many restrictions in different countries that actually pulling a tour off. I honestly can't see it happening without, unless a bunch of the shows get cancelled and the tour gets shortened. It's tough, man. It's really tough, and I think we've just confirmed a show in November in the UK, a festival in the UK, and we confirmed that because we assumed that one is the most likely to happen because it's in the UK. The UK seems to be doing all right, but we've got winter coming up, which is the worst time for all this stuff. So it's kind of all up in the air. But our plan is to kind of, as of the next couple of weeks, we're going to start rehearsing to basically get ready to go out if we are able to go out. So it's kind of we want to be in a position where if stuff happens, we want to be ready for it instead of being like, oh crap, we've got a week and we need to rehearse, So so that's the plan really, is to just start rehearsing and hope for the best, and hopefully next year is, we said this last year though. We said last year that next year is going to be the one. So hopefully next year is going to be the one, and we can even make it back to to your neck of the woods, which would be incredible. Because we love going down there. It's always unbelievably cool on so many levels. So so the plan is to just release it, hope people like it, and get ready to go on tour if we're able to ever go on tour.
So thanks for coming on. Good luck with the album.
Thank you very much, man.
Arteries out on September 17. Good luck with that. Good luck with the tour, man. Good luck with it. Any show. I really hope it comes off. Thanks for talking to me. Oh, hang on. Flash the horns, man. Flash the horns in the camera. That's it. Good man. All right. Cheers, man. Thanks. Have a good one.